Hello, and welcome to the Inside EVs podcast for March 25th, 2021. This is episode number 51. Our top stories today: Ford Mustang Mach-E and Tesla Model Y road trip challenge. Volkswagen ID.Buzz starts production early 2022. Mercedes EQS confirmed for August with 108 kilowatt hour pack. I'm Dominic Ioni, Inside EVs forum moderator and Inside EVs editor. Joining us today is Tom Logney, Inside EVs editor and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge with Tom Logney. We also have Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast, available on all your usual podcast platforms. And of course, Kyle Connor joins us from the Out of Spec Studios. He also puts together absolutely bodacious videos for the Inside EVs YouTube channel. Please subscribe and tap that bell icon for notifications. Now, if you like the podcast, please leave us a rating or maybe even a review on whichever platform you catch us on. Of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, we'd love a thumbs up there as well. And just in case you don't know, we're also streaming live on Twitch. Yes. So, okay. Welcome, gentlemen of the panel and ladies and gentlemen of the audience. Let's kick it off today by talking about what's charging up in our driveways this weekend. In a manner of speaking, Martin, I believe you had a spin this week in the ID.4. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I will. And you know what? It got pushed back to this afternoon. So it's a big tease for me. So I was meant to be out this morning. And for boring reasons to do with the clock changes that you've had that we haven't. This is actually earlier in my day than I realized. So I'm going to drive it this afternoon. It's the first edition. This one is white. I think it looks nice with the black trim, and the inside I'm not convinced with. So the one, Carl, you've been driving has the white, more kind of white trim inside, but this is the one with like the dark brown, and I'm not convinced by it in the pictures, but I'll see this afternoon. And Dominic, you had a little play. Was it this week in the ID.4?
Yes, actually, I got to, after, Kyle here and Tom have already driven it a bit, and
Yeah.
it came into my local dealer, and I made my way down there with my sister, actually, who drives Lyft and Uber sometimes. So she's, looking at the market right now for a new vehicle. So yeah, we went down and looked at it. And so my quick review is like, I don't know, it was roomy. It seemed like it had lots of range. I don't know, Martin, I threw some clips there in the Teams chat that you might be able to share with us.
Yeah, I'll bring those up. Yeah.
So yeah, it was like pretty roomy. I thought it's like a lot bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside. And it looks, not huge on the outside. I think it was Tiguan's a little bigger than Tiguan size. Kyle, you think?
So exterior is 4 inches shorter, I believe, and it has a larger interior by 23 cubic feet. I can't remember offhand, but yeah, smaller but larger interior space.
Just like that with the facts, man. Damn. Okay. So yeah. What else? Let's see. Driving it. I've got some notes here, and they're all out of order. But so, like, the turning radius was something that like really struck me. It's like a rural drive, so you can turn the wheel, and then it keeps turning even more. It seemed like it was a better turning radius than my Spark EV, which is front wheel drive, and so it can't really turn that well. But that was pretty cool, especially if you're using it in the city as like an Uber or Lyft driver, rideshare driver. I love the glass roof, of course, and the sliding electric glass roof. As you can see, there's the interior of it, and you can see that's a wide angle lens, so it looks, but it is actually pretty roomy and big, and the colors on this one were nice. On the inside, it was fine. Some of the plastics I thought weren't the greatest. They weren't terrible. They were better than the like Chevy Bolt TV, I would say, but not premium. I think the door panel where you put your elbow could have used a bit more padding. And the armrest on the right, it was okay, but I'd like something just a little bit more robust. It's better than the one in my Spark EV, which I won't even use because I'm afraid it'll break. But yeah, let's see what else. Okay, the ride was great. It was okay. Not great on rough pavement and speed bumps. Yeah, it was all right. But I think the Audi version should be better. I'm kind of curious to see how much that improves. The stereo was kind of meh. It was okay, not great. I kind of would like it to be a little bit better. The user interface I found was not super intuitive. I didn't have any instructions on on how to run anything. They gave me the key basically and said, "Here you go." The salespeople hadn't had their really good briefing on about the vehicle yet, so they couldn't tell me a whole lot. The salesperson actually thought it was like a all-wheel drive vehicle, and it's not. But they'll get there. They was very enthusiastic about it though, so that was great to see. Power was great off the line, but after about like 35 mile an hour or so, it kind of fades. And that's about it, really. I'm not sure, but anybody have any questions for me? I did like the sliding volume adjustment, and actually when you want to, so it has a big glass roof, which is great, and it has like an electric screen that closes off. So like if you're in Arizona or somewhere hot in the summertime, Florida, you just let it slide your finger on the glass thing, and it slides back, and it's kind of nice.
Did you have the software glitches that others have found? The kind of 1 minute it's fine, 1 minute it's laggy, can't quite pinpoint why?
I didn't get to play with the user interface too much because like I had zero instruction, and I didn't find it super intuitive. I did look at it a little bit, and I wanted to turn on the radio real quick, but so I could hear the stereo, and it wasn't super apparent how to do that actually. It's like, oh, man.
And how much did you tell the dealer? Because sometimes, not for any other reason, I'm not being sneaky, but I just don't tell people that I'm kind of super into EVs. So if I'm talking to someone about it, I'm curious to see the language they use and how they talk about it. And so did you go in saying, "Oh, hey, like I drive an EV, I'm good with this," or I'm not saying you played dumb, but how did you present yourself?
Well, I've been communicating with the salesperson for a few weeks actually, sharing some of our videos that we had done on it. So he could maybe get up to speed on the vehicle himself, because he hadn't seen it. It just had arrived, the vehicle, before I got it. So, but he did. It feels like he was kind of in this, not heavy sales mode, but I think he was. He didn't. I don't know. I think he looked at me as customer-like, equivalent to a younger salesperson. So I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, did they not show you the car because they didn't know how to use it, or because they thought, well, this guy presents an EV podcast, so we'll just let him crack on? Well,
I think I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure how to answer that.
Yeah, you would just presume that there would be like a 10-minute tutorial of this is how you drive. It's electric.
Yeah,
this is how you find charging stations. Not that you'll need one today, but all those kind of things. So, but it's going to change from dealer to dealer. So
I didn't get any of that. No.
Okay.
I never let on to the fact that I know what I'm doing when I go into a dealership.
Oh, really?
Talk to them about EVs. Yeah.
Right.
I'm just really, besides the fact that I kind of do this, I do work with dealerships to help them learn about EVs and sell them better. So it's fascinating to me to watch how different dealerships approach their electric vehicles, and how some of them are just clueless, some of them are trying, and some of them really know what the hell they're talking about, which is, it shocks me, but I do stumble across them every now and then, where I walk in there and it's like, they can quote battery capacity, usable, and net, and charging speeds, and it just like, holy shit, like where'd you come from? But they're few and far between at this point. But it is good that there are out there, and I'll tell you one thing: they're getting better. And I can tell you with the ID.4 and the Mach-E, I am now getting hit with calls from Volkswagen and Ford dealerships proactively, and this is unusual, because I with our program, it's called the Plug Star program. We train dealers how to better sell EVs. We had to beg dealers to let us help them. Please let me help you sell these cars.
Right.
And sometimes the programs were fully funded by local partners. It didn't even cost the dealers anything. And I'm going in there saying, look, this is free. I'll help you sell cars. Please let me. And some of them like, nah, we don't need you, right. But now, the last couple of weeks, I have Ford and Volkswagen dealers, and only Ford and Volkswagen dealers, calling me saying, we got these things in. They're really good. We need help understanding them. So last week alone, 5 Ford dealers in New Jersey called me. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel, I think. I think it's starting to click.
Well, I kind of wish the Tallahassee dealership down here would call you, because they had like at least 3 Porsche Taycans on the lot, and like they shouldn't be on the lot. They should be sold because it's an awesome car, right?
Wow.
But yeah, they also had Volvo XC40 Recharge, which I was like, oh man, I kind of like to sit in that for a little while. But yeah, so let's get on to Kyle. You've had an interesting week, I think, chasing Mach-E and Model Y across the country. You want to give us fill us in on what's going on there?
Sure, you had cut out for a second there, but I am back. If I cut out, just continue on without me. It's just poor internet here. I'm in the middle of the mountains in North Carolina. Beautiful out here in the Smoky Mountains. So yeah, drove the Model Y and the Mustang Mach-E from Denver, Colorado to here just outside of Asheville, North Carolina, at my friend Dave's house. If you want to see how awesome his garage is, take a look.
That's EV Dave, right?
EV Dave. Yep, he has one of every Tesla and now the Mach-E. And he's got, I don't know, like 4 Model 3s and, pretty much everything. Dave's awesome. And, I had told Dave, look, you're EV Dave, not Tesla Dave. Time to play around with some other stuff. So I was like, I need to get content on a Mustang Mach-E. Ford wouldn't loan us one because of software updates. They said, you're not going to get one until you get software updates. I said, well, that's really annoying. Let's go buy one. So I called Dave up, and here we are with the blue one, and that was back at my house in Colorado. I've been driving it for the past few weeks. I put like 3,000 and a bit miles on that car while I had it. So really got to know the Mustang pretty well, and really a fantastic road trip here to North Carolina in that vehicle. Totally flawless, actually. All of the charging bugs, all of the issues I experienced were driving from my house to Los Angeles using the plug-in charge feature. Right. Once I figured out plug-in charge does not work today, and I switched to just activating the Electrify America station with my own app, it was perfect.
Awesome. So tell us about this trip a little bit. So you started from Denver, and you started with full batteries, and you had sort of like a plan to see who could get there faster?
Not really. I mean, that was kind of the original plan. And then, we just were like, let's just go on a road trip. It's very apparent that the Model Y is quicker at road tripping because, I left an hour later than Dave did from my house. I had to get some work done. We had to shoot some videos and TikToks and stuff. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just see you on the road. And right after the first charging stop, I'm already caught up with Dave.
Oh.
So, and then I was just dilly-dallying the whole time. I'm like, well, I'll just sit behind you. And pretty interesting. So this is a tweet that's wrong that I posted. It says, you can see it says a 30-minute to charge limit. I took this as a Tesla now is putting a 30-minute limit on your charging. I was like, that's pretty interesting. I've seen 80% charge limits before. But what it's actually saying is it's 30 minutes to the charging limit. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. I just thought it was worded weird. And that's a brand new text in this current software update.
Nice.
Okay. So that was a cool week. Road tripped over here. Now I'm flying to Phoenix in like an hour and a half. I got to leave here right after this podcast. I have a Volkswagen ID.4 sitting at the parking lot at the airport waiting for me, and I'm taking that on a Southwest U.S. road trip with some of the VW engineering guys, which will be kind of cool.
Sweet. So so no problems at the Electrify America charges for the Mustang?
Literally not one. And then we had only one issue where I think Dave didn't plug the connector in all the way. But other than that, it's still got weird charging bugs, a very weird charging curve, seems to be totally affected by temperature of DC fast charging. But yeah.
What was the average temperatures when you were driving?
Yeah, somewhere in the 40s pretty much the whole time. We're talking, 42 to 48 degrees Fahrenheit for the bulk of the trip. But enough where after multiple DC fast chargers, the car occasionally would be warm and occasionally would thermal throttle, but it would not heat up during the charging process. Just very weird oddities. But it was impressive to see how smooth it was to road trip that car.
So what kind of strategy did he use with it? Did he like go to right to empty or 10% and then charge to like 70% or higher, or what was the best range of charging to?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was Dave was just getting used to the car, and I didn't want to give him any advice. I wanted to see how he would handle it. So sure. I just said, just see you in North Carolina, basically. And, let me know what happens along the way. So he has all of his charging stops. I think they're on YouTube. I haven't checked. documented already on YouTube. I run like 3 weeks behind everything I filmed that goes up. Everything you see from me is way in the past. But Dave's immediate. He's like up all night editing that night. And yeah, it's all up there. He charged to 80% for the most part. And just as soon as it dropped off the cliff, would unplug and head out.
So if you plug EV Dave into YouTube, that brings you right to his channel, and you can see all that footage yourselves. Oops, that's awesome.
Cool.
So,
the way to do it with the Mach-E then is use the app, and it's fine.
Right. So if we want to get pretty nerdy about it, I guess it's Inside EVs. We can. Let's talk about it. So
yeah.
Plug and charge, you have CCS communication protocols when you plug into a DC fast charger. You plug in, it says, hi, I'm a car. Hi, I'm a charger. Here's how much power I'm requesting. Here's how much power I can give you. Here's all of our isolations, my batteries in a good state. And then it will send the power. You'll hear contactors clicking during all these communication protocols. On top of that already extremely complicated handshake process for CCS, you have to add in then payment processing for plug and charge. And so now you have to go through the hi, here's how much power I can take. Then on top of that, it's hi, here's how I pay you for the charging. And in the case of the Mustang Mach-E, what I am imagining is when you have the car new, a 250 kilowatt hour free energy that you get to use on EA. And eventually you're going to switch over once you hit 0 to a paid service, to a paying by the kilowatt hour. And that means throughout the charging process, the car needs to say, hey, I have 5 kilowatt hours left. I have 2 kilowatt hours left. And now you start billing me. But it just does this for any charging session using plug and charge. Again, this is just all what I've figured out in my time with it. And this communication saying, hey, you're going to have to bill me now. Or I have 300 kilowatt hours left, or yep, just checking again, I have nothing left in my account that's free. As soon as it sends that message, it bricks the charging session. So handshakes perfectly, gets charging. As soon as it starts to figure out payment details midway through charging session, it bricks the session. Again, all speculation, but this is adding up to everything that I've tested with this car and every other Mach-E owner I've spoken to. And yeah, if you activate with the app, for example, before you plug in, the charger doesn't go through the payment processing communication side. It just bypasses that whole loop. But if you plug in and then swipe on your app, I don't think it'll work. You have to physically activate the charger before connecting the handle.
Interesting. You have any questions for him there, Tom?
Kyle, I wonder if the 250 kilowatt hours of free charging is throwing the wrench in it, or if it's just plug and charge in general. Like it's almost like with your car, can you burn through those 250 kilowatt hours of free charging and then test it? Because now now it's just going to charge you all the time. Will it still be constantly checking?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a big problem. If you remember, we talked about this previously. The problems Electrify America had with their credit card processes early on, they still have them in some instances, was that same thing, that the credit card kept being reauthorized for charging because you could hit your credit limit in the middle of a charge and then the card won't allow you to, have more money. So it would keep trying to say, okay, it's $10, it's $12, it's $15. And rechecking to make sure that they can charge that. And that's where it would shut off. And it sounds like it's kind of like the same issue now with plug and charge.
Yeah, it very much could be similar. Who knows if it's on the Ford side or EA side, but that sounds plausible. Yeah, just super annoying. My whole thing is an extreme frustration that these details have not been worked out ahead of time. Look, I understand the Mach-E can charge on EA just fine using the app. Awesome. But they advertise it with plug and charge. You can't use plug and charge right now. It's just not possible. It just bricks everything. So the other problem with plug and charge is there's no way to link your Pass Plus membership on EA to your plug and charge. So every charging session, if you're doing a 10 to 80%, for example, it's going to cost you $10 more to just not swipe on the app. I'm like, it's a free $10 if you just activate the charger with your phone. So it makes no sense to me how this was implemented. I just am really amazed that such a giant car company such as Ford could get the most important part of an electric vehicle, the charging process, so mixed up.
Right. Well, at least it sounds like they can work it out. But yes, it's kind of disappointing that it's supposed to be easy, right? Plug in, charge, plug, charge. You're done. Don't worry about anything, right?
And we've been promised a software update now for how many weeks, right? And Ford said, "Hey, we have a software update ready for your car." Great. Well, where is it? So
still not yet.
Seen anything? Still not yet. I don't think that we've yet to see one over-the-air deployment to Mach-E. I don't believe we've had any update of the vehicle yet. Same goes for ID.4. All of these things are future promises that we don't know how they can deliver on and if they truly can deliver on it. Or will it be another Porsche situation where 2021 Taycan should do over-the-air updates, but no, you got to bring it to the dealer for 2 weeks for an update, or 2 days for an update, sorry. And it's just like, this shouldn't be that hard, but I think it's really hard for everyone to get this figured out.
Right. All right. Any more questions about the road trip? Anything else you want to say about it? How was the Model Y?
I drove the Y the whole time. Dave drove the Mach-E the full time. The Y's great as usual. No different than my 3, really. So very familiar experience. Very efficient in cold weather as well. Have to say we have Martian wheels on this Y, and those are super, super nice.
That Y has the heat pump?
Yep, it does. Every Y does. And great. This is an early build. It's like VIN 400 something. Super, super early car.
Hey, and you were saying, so to compare the two just for a second, so ride-wise, you think the Mach-E had like a nicer ride, but you like the seats better in the Tesla, I believe? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, Mach-E suspension calibration is fairly good for what the vehicle is. It's compliant over most of the bumps, I would say, but also when you drive it in a dynamic situation, it doesn't fall on its face. Model Y excels in some dynamic situations, but it beats you up way too much on the street, especially this performance one. It's almost annoyingly rough. So I think Model Y is a fine road tripper. It's probably still one of the best all-around EVs you can buy. I mean, I think we would get one today if it made sense to trade in our 3, but it doesn't because we put 80,000 miles on it in a year.
Right.
And it's not that big of a jump up to the car to justify taking the hit on the 3. But yeah, that's sort of a great car. Mach-E is great to drive too. The seats don't work for me long term. For around town, it's fine.
Right. I really like the seats. And those are like, we were talking on the phone the other day, and those seats are kind of like a subjective thing sometimes. Some people like the seats in the Bolt EV, but a lot of people, there were a lot of complaints about those. So that's like one of those things. So this trip, just to wrap it up, so overall, we're talking about what, 2,000 miles ish?
I didn't actually check. I was on just cruising the whole time, but yeah, something like that. Easy trip for both cars. Seriously, no problem.
How much faster do you think the Mach-E the Model Y can do it than the Mach-E?
If I was driving both and optimizing both perfectly over that entire distance, it's probably a 6-hour difference.
That's significant. Especially if you're like you and you put like 80,000 miles a year traveling on your car.
For me, I couldn't own a Mach-E with the charging curve. I road trip too much. I'm very much the minority of EV owners. Right. I recognize most people will never drive cross country in a gas car, let alone an electric car. But I do this all the time. I have to go to shoots here, shoots there. Then I got to haul all the camera equipment. Then I got to bring time in. Then I got to bring Alyssa. And I'm like, well, we'll just drive at that point rather than spending the $3,000 to fly everything back and forth. We'll take free supercharging. So we end up driving a lot of places. And someone mentioned, you thought you hate the brakes on the Mach-E. Very true, but I don't use those on the highway. You just use one pedal driving. It's fine. The brake pedal calibration on the Mach-E is extremely poor. I did a whole in-depth driving analysis on that and the ID.4, and for its intended purpose, the ID.4 is a much better vehicle than the Mach-E by far for the intended built for purpose. The Mach-E is meant to be a sporty crossover that you can go have fun in. It doesn't really do anything perfectly. It does everything well. The ID.4 is intended to be an around town, but also everyday usable road tripper. And for its intended purpose, it is nearly perfect. The only thing I'd like to see with ID.4 is one pedal driving for around town. auto hold at a stoplight, as well as probably higher power for charging if I was going to own one. I still think it's perfect for the everyday user. No complaints about that charging curve. But yeah, that ID.4, we'll find out. I'm road tripping it literally later today, so we'll see.
Right on. Hey, yeah, some motorbikes coming up too this weekend too, right?
Oh yeah, we got bikes at the house. We got everything. I mean, you can't fit another vehicle in our driveway right now. Time and Alyssa and Liam back it out of spec they are just working straight through. We have 2 zero electric motorcycles. I gave one to Drew, who owns Martian Wheels, because we didn't have room. I'm like, Drew, you got to take a bike. So Drew's driving a Zero SR around Denver for the next couple of weeks.
Awesome.
Timon's riding a DSR.
How far are you from Denver?
Oh, only little under an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, I pop into Denver all the time. I'm up and down I-25. I mean, that's where the airport is. So I'm in there probably twice a week, something like this, and super convenient. Yeah, we live in a great town just outside Denver. It's like a college town. It's really cool.
Awesome. Someone's just asking, how many charging stops did you do?
Oh, I don't know. Didn't keep track.
Okay.
You got to watch Dave's videos. They're long. So good luck. Let me know what you end up finding.
Well, some people really like long videos like that, so they can get all the.
That's how we started on YouTube with road trips for EVs. We still do them. People love them. I like to make them too. They're fun. I shot a whole thing for out of spec for this road trip. But yeah, truly, just to wrap this up, because I know we have a lot to get into. Mach-E is a very fine vehicle for if you're into Mach-E's. But if you're buying a car to drive around town and you don't floor it everywhere, because I don't, ID.4 is way better. So that's for me personally, everyone keeps asking me Model Y or ID.4. I'd get an ID.4 all day long, every day.
Wow.
Maybe a Mach-E GT would sway me, because then for its intended purpose, it should handle better.
Right. I need more time in the Mach-E, because I think I liked it a bit more than the ID.4. There's something about it. It just I like that power when
it's the old man syndrome. You're thinking back to Mustangs of yesteryear. Here we are in modern, new, young people. We like trendy vehicles like Volkswagens. It's happy. It's got play and pause buttons. It puts a smile on your face.
That's true. I did like that. Hey, so speaking of Volkswagen and trendy vehicles, let's move on to some news. There are probably few cars admired and possibly desired more than the Volkswagen ID.Buzz. The German automaker has been teasing us with it for a good number of years now, with different concepts, and before actually committing to this design, the ID.Buzz. It harkens back to the bus, the VW bus of the 60s, when it was something of a cultural icon. Now we have confirmation, for real this time, about its start of production and some other details. So it's a bit of a good news, bad news situation, though. The good news, production is said to start in February of 2022. That's like less than a year away. So that's pretty exciting, right? The bad news, that production out of their Hanover factory is only for Europe. It is coming to the US, of course, but it looks like that's only going to happen the next year in 2023. And it might be, oh man, it looks so great. It's going to come in 2023 as a 2024 model. So we learned a few other tidbits about the van. It's going to be built on the VW MEB platform, like most of the electric vehicles coming out of Volkswagen Group for the next few years. In Europe, customers will have a choice between a long and short wheelbase version, as well as a couple of different battery sizes. The long wheelbase, at least, will be a 7-seater. There's a German publication called Edison. It's kind of ironic in a way, but I think it's a car thing, not really an electric car thing. And they said there'll be the batteries will be like 60 kilowatt hours with 100 kilowatt hour, 60 kilowatt hours, 100 kilowatt hours with ranges of 300 kilometers or 186 miles WLTP, and over 500 kilometers or 310 miles with the 100-ish kilowatt hour pack. When the Buzz Cargo concept came out, that's the version of this without the windows in the back, more of a cargo van. Volkswagen said it would get a 111 kilowatt hour battery, good for 550 kilometers or 342 miles. So let's hope they're sticking to that plan, because more range is better, obviously. One of the other changes from when the Cargo came out, it had like a solar roof option. Apparently that's not happening now. So there's the if you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch, you can see, or on Facebook for that matter, you can see on the screen that there's the transporter version of it, or the cargo. I think they're probably going to call it a transporter, probably, eh, Martin?
Yeah, you'd think so.
Okay. So yeah, Europe will get the transporter version. I'm not sure about the US yet, and that'll be in both wheelbases. In the US, when it does come, customers will probably only get the long wheelbase version, and I would be surprised if I would not be surprised if only the large battery was available here as well. Edison says we should expect prices to be between 40 and 60,000 euros in Germany before subsidies. So that translates to, but it probably includes their crazy value-added tax. So that translates to like $47,000 to $70,665, which is a lot. So since we're not getting the short wheelbase with a small battery, I think it's going to be closer to the high end of that, but maybe not quite that high, because vehicles tend to be slightly cheaper when they come to the US, and also it won't have the value-added tax included. So it'll depend on your state, what your local state taxes are, sales taxes are. But if I was going to say, if it's too high, it's going to be a little bad, because it would make it more of an aspirational vehicle for the kind of people who really want this. I think I feel like most people who can spend that kind of money on a vehicle, or would be like $70,000 on a vehicle, or more likely to buy like an Audi or Mercedes or something. Tom, are you into the Volkswagen bus thing at all? And if so, what kind of money would you be willing to spend?
Yeah, so it's going to be an expensive vehicle because it's going to have a big battery. But yeah, I do like it, and I can see down the road people just trying to buy these used, at 3 years old down the road, like the intended original target. A lot of people interested in this vehicle aren't going to be able to afford it probably when it first comes out. But you could just see like this being such an iconic vehicle down the road, like the original bus was, where people just kept them forever, and I just hope it has good charging capability, because I could see people wanting to take this on really long road trips. So I think that's probably really important that it has good charging capability. And I would tend to agree with what you said, with Volkswagen probably only offering it in a larger battery pack here in the US at least. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because while options are always good, I don't think that a big market for this would be with a 60 kilowatt hour battery in the US. I think this has to be able to cover some range for what people are going to want to do with it. It should have a ton of outlets, maybe vehicle to grid capability, where you could like set this thing up and camp and like pull out your electric cooktop, and kind of like what you see Rivian doing, and what we saw Hyundai showing off, with their new vehicles. This is perfect for that, and yeah, I love it. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, I would live in this down by the river, for sure.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. I think they're turning on vehicle to grid or vehicle to load, whatever you want to call it, next year on the MEB platform. That was part of Power Day, their version of Battery Day. I think 2.5 kilowatts would be about right for pulling something that's usable when you're out camping. And I love VW doing this, because they're able to, if that makes sense. So if you're a startup, you have either got to make money, or you've got to kind of ride this wave of cash coming into EVs, hoping that you can make money. We're looking at those companies like any of the truck companies that aren't actually making the trucks yet, and Canoe and etc. Really, really interesting. Arrival floated this week. Really interesting, but not making vehicles yet. And what I love is that VW have tens of thousands of employees, and in the grand scheme of things, I'm not making light of it, but in the grand scheme, to put a team on this and to say go and have fun, like, they can do that, and so many can't. And so I think it's really cool that VW have confirmed that this is coming. They've got the platform ready to go, and again, I'm not making light of all the work that goes into and getting through kind of crash tests and getting cars homologated and on sale, even in Europe, let alone being a global car. But they are big enough to do it. And actually, I think Herbert Diess has taken more than a page out of Elon Musk's book. And whilst he's not, dating a pop star and going on Joe Rogan. He's worked out the need to create the, pardon the pun, buzz around VW and electric vehicles, because no one's going to buy this. Like, in the grand scheme of ID.3s, ID.4s, of Skodas and Seats and etc., no one's buying this in any numbers. But it's great. It's great because we get to talk about it and we get to see one day. And it does so much free marketing for the company compared to how many they'll sell. And then when they do sell them, they're going to be really, really good.
So I think if they can get the price down enough, and with the $7,500 federal tax credit, I think it would be a very good rideshare vehicle. It's a 7-seater. If you're a rideshare driver, you get more money if you have one of those vehicles and add one of those vehicles to their fleet. So there's incentive for those kind of users to buy this size of vehicle. And also in 2025, this is going to be the first. If they can get the technology together by then, this will be the first autonomous vehicle that Volkswagen offers as well. And 2025 is their target date for that. So a year after it comes to the US.
I just think that price is going to be the prohibitive factor. Look at the Mercedes-Benz EQV, the van version.
Yeah.
Here it's £71,000. Yeah, we have 20% VAT on top of that. But even then, if I'm a hotel or whatever, if I'm going to be shuttling people around, do I get a diesel version or an electric version of these edge case vehicles at the moment? Well, you've got to really love electric cars to blow 71 grand on the EQV.
That's true.
Which is a great vehicle, but they're not being made at a cheaper price. And I think this will be the same, but I'd love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, it's gonna be cheaper than that, I think. And another thing with rideshare, I mean, you want an electric vehicle over a gas vehicle, because if you put in 100,000 miles or whatever on it a year, or 50, I guess, whatever you put on it, you're gonna be spending a lot less money for fuel. That's another consideration. So yeah, it all depends on the reason you're buying it and your use case, I guess.
I can see businesses buying these and wrapping them with their graphics, just because it's such a cool looking vehicle. It's like everybody's going to look at this thing when it rolls down the street. So you might as well plaster your name and your logo all over it. So, I agree with Martin with that. This is never going to be a high volume vehicle, and it may not ever even break even for Volkswagen. But I think it's part of the brand identity. With now that they're moving to electrification, it's a halo vehicle. It's look what we can do because we can do it, and I think the people that own them will love them. I think you can't, whenever one of those old buses becomes available now, you see them on Craigslist or whatever, they get gobbled up immediately. It's such an iconic vehicle. I could just see people that had these when they were teenagers, just dropping the money on it now and trying to relive their youth, but it just turning into such a cool vehicle to go on road trips with. And while it won't sell in high volume, I think Volkswagen will get plenty in return if it's not profit out of the halo aspect of making this thing. It's so cool. Look at it. It's such a happy vehicle. Kyle always talks about happy vehicles, right. Look at that. How could you not be smiling as you drove this thing down the road, except if your bank account was empty because it cost $80,000. But besides that, the people that are going to buy it probably can afford it, and they won't look back on what it cost.
I think it's going to, power-wise, it's going to be very similar to the ID.4. It's got the same sort of, 200 and whatever horsepower, 201 horsepower in rear-wheel drive, and then 300 or so with all-wheel drive. And those will be options, I think, here. Kyle, you have some words about this?
Yeah, I think that's plenty powerful. You could put 100 horsepower in this thing, it'd be fine. What were they, 60 horsepower back in the day? When you have this, you're not in a rush to get anywhere. You just want to cruise. You're going to cruise up and down California. You'll take this cross country. We're going to make some awesome videos with this. I'm sure it's going to be tons of fun. And yeah, I just am super pumped for this type of vehicle. How cool would it be to have the dog hauler now that we have 3 massive dogs and have them sticking their heads out the windows and stuff? It makes you happy. It's fun to think about.
Oh, speaking of dogs, someone asked last week on the comments, what your new rescue or your new pup, what kind of dog is that?
Right. So we rescued Appa. He's a Saint Bernard, and we fostered him, and then we foster failed him, which means he's officially ours now. So yeah, we got 3 big ones.
All right, had to get the important little bit out of the way. All right, so ready to move on? The Mercedes EQS will be the first from the ground up electric vehicle from that company. Not only, that's not including the SLS AMG Coupe electric drive from around 2013 or so, which they only built a few of at great expense. Anyway, word is that it makes its official debut on April 15th. So, mark your calendars. That's a Thursday, just a couple of weeks from now. And the company is also saying it will arrive on the market this August. And when it does, it will apparently come with Mercedes Me-Charge charging management system, which is like an odd name, but okay. Mercedes Me-Charge. Along with a simple plug-and charge process at compatible networks, it supposedly provides for environmentally friendly electricity. They say it ensures the subsequent use of energy from renewable resources at public charging points. So basically, if you happen to use a charger that uses electricity from non-renewable sources, they will offset that somehow with renewables. Also in Japan, at least, it will feature bidirectional charging, or vehicle-to-grid, V2G as we call it. And because there it will use CHAdeMO, which already supports that technology. This should be a pretty great car with lots of range. They say over 700 kilometers. That's 435 miles WLTP. It does that with a 108 kilowatt-hour battery with a chemistry of nickel, cobalt, and manganese at a ratio of 8:1:1 for all you battery nerds out there. We have some footage of that production. Apparently, the line where they produce the packs is like over 300 meters long. That's like much longer than a football field. So actually, see, I don't even watch football. So, like, Tom, how long is a football field? Is that 100 yards?
Yeah, 100 yards. It's a little over 300 feet.
Right. So, okay, right. I knew there was a 300 in there, right?
Yeah.
So that's like over 3 football fields, maybe 3.5 football fields long to make this batteries. So anyway, besides being exciting because this is its first ground-up electric, it's also notable that this platform is modular and flexible and can be used across the model series, they say. So, Kyle, do you have some insight into the EQS that you're allowed to share with this week? I believe there's
nothing I'm allowed to share, unfortunately, but expect plenty of EQS content from me coming soon. Also, I guess I can point out, take a look at that rear wheel. You'll notice it's not totally straight. This is basing off of this image here.
Okay.
It has rear wheel steering because you can see it's doing this. Now, the normal S-Class, everyone made a big deal about Hummer EV doing 10 degrees of crab walk, right?
Right.
Well, the normal combustion S-Class can already do that. So I don't know why everyone was in such a hubbub. This is already on the market. You can crab walk an S-Class all day long. So yeah, this is probably technology going to make it to the EQS based off of the way that rear wheel is turning. And if you haven't driven a car with rear steer, it is transformative to the way that car drives, not only on a back road, but also in the city.
That's right. The Taycan has a rear wheel steer option, right?
It has an option. The 4S we had did not have it, but I've driven a couple Turbo and Turbo S's that do have it. Even the rear-wheel drive that I drove, the pink one, had rear steer, which was pretty neat.
And the Cross Turismo as well, I believe, right?
That's correct. That particular one did. Yep.
Actually, just going back to the Buzz for a second, I think someone had mentioned that it might have four-wheel steering, but I haven't heard anything about that recently. Anybody seen anything?
No, not at all. No, I'd be surprised. So it's a
I would be
combination,
surprised.
but
I mean, the ID.4, the MEB platform can already have such a massive front wheel articulation. It could go full sideways, as you know, almost. And so I don't think it needs it, even if it does have it. But EQS, what people need to really understand about this car, it is the electric S-Class. This is the top of the line halo vehicle, extremely luxurious. So we're going to be expecting big things from this car. Off the bat styling, looking at these images here, I don't think they've nailed it. Personally, a singular line like that, it does nothing to invoke me. It just looks like an egg going down the road. So I haven't seen it without the camo yet. I think it'll be neat to see how it is. But I'm not totally convinced this is the right direction, guys. What do you think?
The concept was like a bar of soap, and this is not quite that. There's a.
I mean, it's almost like that.
It was spotted in Los Angeles. Actually, there's a picture on Twitter. I think a Black Model 3 Twitter user had. I think it might be a link in your notes there, Martin, if you want to share that.
Okay.
Tom,
It's clearly form following function, and I'll reserve judgment until they peel all that stuff off. There could be some cool things hidden under there, but this is totally what I expected. I actually got to drive the EQS concept last year, right before COVID hit, and they had a EQS pre-production like that, all wrapped, all covered up and everything on site. So I got to walk right up to it, touch it, and kind of see the lines and everything. And it stays true to the concept. I mean, it's obviously not the same, but they really did try to keep the lines very similar. Let's see when they unwrap the thing. It as Kyle said. I mean, or Kyle or Dominic, I forget who said that. I mean, this is their S-Class. This is the pinnacle of Mercedes. It better be good. The one thing that I do like about it is that they didn't take their S-Class and convert it. They didn't use a variable platform that can, we can do ICE like BMW is doing with the i4. We're going to do ICE. We're going to do plug-in hybrid. But, for all electric, there's no compromise. That Mercedes didn't do that. They did build this thing ground up, and it should be good. This is their first car that they're really, I think, proud that it's all electric. And people could say, well, you have the EQC, but that was kind of, I mean, if they're proud of it, they didn't even bring it to the US. This is the car that I think they're putting the weight of the brand behind and saying, look, we can do electric. Take a look at this. And if it's not good, if it's not great, and I feel that way about BMW's iX, if these aren't great vehicles, then these legacy brands that we, a lot of people said, oh, they'll be fine once they really put their mind to it, they can make electric cars. These are just compliance cars for now, but when they really go at it, they'll be able to do it. If this car doesn't nail it, that's really telling.
You only get one chance to make a first impression, they say.
But this is their forte, though, isn't it? They've got to get it right. So, in a way, because I live in the EV world so much, I've kind of got used to less is more. Like because EVs are becoming, they are just big computers on wheels. And then you look at, Tesla leading the way with just a screen, and that's it. And you can't argue with performance, you can't argue with the technology. But then when I end up back in combustion world, and I was watching a video of our colleague Clint from Motor One, and he was looking at the Mercedes Maybach GLS. Even like you think about a recent launch, I mean, like the Grand Wagoneer or something that I wouldn't be seen like dead in. I've got no interest in driving, but you look inside that and you go, actually, there's a lot of buyers for whom less isn't more. More is more. I'm paying $100,000. I want more. I want lovely leather seats.
You want it to bounce.
Yeah, I want to be massaged. Turn on the massage seat, please. I want my seat to be reclining in the rear. And I kind of forget to live in this EV world that actually, we've seen those kind of cars. So yeah, EQC is nice, I-Pace is nice, e-tron's nice, Taycan's nice, but actually Mercedes can smash this. This is what they're really good at. Where you get in it and you go, oh no, more. Definitely more is more. So that's. And I understand why Tesla can't beat them on that. And it's where Lucid have gone, being like, you know what? We think we can beat them on that. So that's where they're going with that. But that sense of luxury, I'm not in that market. So I'm not going to pretend to be I'm not buying cars for 120, 150 grand. So, but you see those people, they haven't bought a Model S yet. They haven't put their order in for the Plaid Plus. So what are they waiting for? And it could be cars like this that tempt them out of pistons,
Well, yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So in this category, like, for example, let's talk like small SUVs. You have ID.4, Mach-E, Model Y, XC40 Recharge, Polestar 2, Kona, Nero, blah, blah, blah. In this luxurious sedan category, you have Tesla Model S now, you have Lucid Air, and you have EQS. These are going to be the next three big comparisons. And I'm going to wait to test them, but what is likely to be is Tesla will have the most integrated, connected, ease of charging experience for trips and everything like this. The EQS is going to be the most comfortable and the most carved out of one piece, if you will, to drive around town. And the Lucid Air is going to be the technological masterpiece that has all of the range and is maybe a blend of the two, somewhere in the middle,
right.
But is still relying on non-proprietary charging networks. So this thing could really be a serious vehicle. I know it's going to be. Mercedes cannot afford to not have this be the best and most luxurious driving EV to ever hit the streets. And look, they have the best chassis engineers. They have the best noise engineers. They have 250 engineers that work just in the acoustics department at Mercedes. That's actually true. And so, these are the things that are going to be brought in.
So what kind of price tag do we think it's going to have on it?
A big one.
Like bigger than Lucid?
All of it.
No,
I would. Look, Lucid's going to be what, 80 grand for the Lucid Dream or Lucid Base Air?
Yeah.
Something like this. This is going to be a regular S-Class starts at 105, doesn't it? So this is going to be S-Class money, triple digits base.
Right. Yeah, kind of. That's what I was thinking. But that was a great point you made about the Lucid sort of being a blend of the Model S approach and the Mercedes approach. I like that. A lot. All right. So, Tom, your mic's off.
Yeah, but the good part about it is think of the options now. People in that price range that have the amount of money. Previously, it was Tesla. That was it. Yeah. And then Taycan came. There's some overlap with Taycan. But now, the people that have, some kind of unlimited resources are going to have hopefully three really good choices. I think we all believe that the Lucid is definitely going to be a good choice. Kyle and I have sat in it. We've checked it out. I mean, it's the real deal. We know technology wise, it's going to be fantastic.
Crazy performance, and also, really nice luxury. If Mercedes does nail this, at least I certainly expect the interior to be drop dead gorgeous. The exterior, well, let's see what's under those wraps. There'll be three really good choices in that, $100,000 to $150,000 range, which, while we don't play in that, there's plenty of people that do. And, get them exposed to, high-end luxury electric vehicles. That's fantastic. Well, and those high-end luxury vehicles also sell, more affordable vehicles down the product line.
Absolutely.
So they need to set a good example, show, hey, we can do this. You can aspire to this while you drive, something that that's more in your budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hey, so we talked about the new predictive gear selection on the Model S, the refreshed Model S that's coming out very soon now. But besides it just guessing which direction you want to go, you can reach over and use a touch screen. Now, there's a little video has made its way to the internet showing exactly what that looks like. I don't know if you can cue that up there. Yeah. So it's basically that. And in a separate video, I noticed just talking about some of the changes coming to the new user interface on the Model S refresh. I believe there's also there's a little predictive gear selection that you can switch, so you don't have to. You can you could use this thing on the screen all the time. So if you don't trust the car's judgment or whatever. And I believe also some people were saying online that you can use the little wheels on the steering wheel, those little thumb controls, to do the gear changes as well. Have any of you heard about that?
Yeah, I read that, and but I don't know where that came from. It just seems to be a thing that's on the internet. Oh, you've got hard controls on the wheel, but
okay,
I can't. I don't know.
Could be wishful thinking.
Yeah. But it seems to be a thing that's out there that seems to be accepted.
So do you have to swipe up to go forwards?
It looks like
yes.
Yeah.
That's unnatural.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because down is always drive. Think about old, like Suburbans, whatever.
Oh.
You always pull down for drive.
Down to go drive
and
forward. Yeah.
Up is park. Up is it, or at least stopping. And
Yeah.
so here, also your arm flows down. And so now you have to go against your natural gravitational pull of your arm to make it go in the most unnatural direction. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. And also based off of my Tesla experience, I've been driving Teslas for years, hundreds of thousands of miles. The screens do glitch, and they do still today. So how many times am I going to be stuck backing out of the Costco parking lot and not being able to shift gears? Now, this is pure speculation. I don't want to start anything. I just think hard buttons have a place. Tactile, really nice, awesome buttons integrated well have a place, and they usually are for the most important controls, such as determining which direction your giant 5,000-pound piece of metal should go. So we'll see how well this works, but I'm going to be the first to say, as someone who I usually like to wait to test things to share my opinion, I'm going to tell you right now I don't like it, but we'll see.
Right on.
I actually saw that video yesterday, and when I took my Model 3 out, just for the heck of it, I was like pretending that that's how it shifted. Now I know when something's new, it's going to feel unnatural, but it felt super unnatural. And then when I was in this tight parking lot and I had to make a K-turn, I'm going back and forth, reversing. I had to like look at the screen. Like when you're shifting, you don't have to look at the shifter. You're looking outside, front and behind you, back and forth. But I had to stop, look at the screen, slide it up, reverse, stop, look at the screen, go this way. Look, it was really, really a weird sensation. So I don't know, change just for change's sake isn't always the best, policy. But I'll wait and see it till I can test it out. And I wouldn't mind the scroll buttons on the steering wheel. That would be a lot easier. That would just, with your thumb, just up, back, forward.
Yeah, every time you palm the wheel, you're going to be.
Yeah. Well, that could happen. So yeah, like I don't know. Let's get in these damn things and try them out first before we really kill them. But for now, I'm kind of leaning towards Kyle with like I don't know if I'm going to really think this is good.
I wonder if there's like a sound associated with like forward and a sound associated with reverse. So then
I hope not. That would be annoying.
I mean, you could you'd be able to hopefully turn it off, but or not. But
I don't know. I just think the age-old solution is probably the best one, which is PRND, and then you can just hit which one you want.
Well, even the Volkswagen ID.4 didn't have that. It has a.
But it's a physical control that makes sense, and it's in the correct orientation. And
but when you want to put it in park, you have to
you push the button.
I'm lucky I saw the video because I was like, "There's no park on that." Then it's like you have to push on the end of the little knob thingy.
I don't know. I think that's every automaker does their own shifter, right? So like we're in and out of a lot of cars, we get used to it. But it's the same as my i3, so it made sense to me.
Right, that's true. It's very close to that. Right on. Oh, so sticking with Tesla for a second and minimalism. Actually, before I move from that, I just want to mention also that screen apparently it moves a little bit to the left and the right. So if you're sitting in the passenger side and you're parked somewhere, you want to watch Netflix more or whatever, you can do that. So I like that idea.
That's going to be annoying. I hope there's a notch at center because everyone's going to be trying to get it exactly perfect.
Right.
Dom, let me point out one comment that Stuart Thomas made.
Oh, sure.
And he mentions, but like all modern day tech, we pass judgment, and then a month later, we're using it effortlessly. Okay, you're right. It's possible.
Good point.
You do adapt to things relatively quickly. So that's why we said we're going to wait till we pass judgment, but we're allowed to have an early opinion without our final opinion. And early opinions we're a little leery about this, but we're absolutely going to try this thing out as soon as it's available, and you'll hear it here.
And if it's terrible,
are on the road, Kyle or I, or one of us is going to get one, at least, even if not for a loan, but we'll at least be able to sit in one and check it out really soon. So you'll get our opinions as soon as these things are on the road.
That's right.
Yeah. So and if it's bad, we're making a video moving around town like this, backwards everywhere.
Yeah. Elon's going to hate you. Okay, well, sticking for Tesla for a second, and Elon, he mentioned the other day on Twitter that your Cybertruck, Tom, is not going to have handles. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and we don't know if did he mean door handles. We assumed he meant door handles.
I think it means. Yeah, I can't think of
Well,
any
you
other.
think, right? Yeah, he just said there will be no handles. I'm sure he means door handles, but will there be like a grab bar handle inside the truck? Will there be no handles? Does he mean that literally anywhere? Like, in the back of the bed, there won't be a handle so you can grab it and climb up. Right. With Elon, you just don't know. Yeah, that's kind of interesting that he's a master of just baiting us and building up expectations. We're all like, just show us the darn production version. We know it's locked in, but no, we'll get a tweet every week. There'll be no handles. Next week, it's going to be the Cybertruck might fly. He's just going to keep throwing this stuff at us just to build up. And yeah, I mean, listen, if it works, that's fine. I'm fine for that. One less thing to break. As long as it's not just a pain to get in the thing. Maybe it's a push button on the B pillar where you push it and the door pops open, kind of like how the Mach-E pops open. But the Mach-E then really has that little, exactly, has that little handle there. And the interesting thing about the Mach-E, and I don't know, Kyle, I don't know if you went over this, you may have, but one thing that I noticed was when it pops open, it won't close.
Oh yeah, the plunger will stay open, so you can't shove your finger until the door moves, and then you can hear it fly back in.
And it can't close by itself. Besides your fingers, like if it's windy or something, it won't pop open and then close back, and you have to press again. There's like a little plunger that slides open and holds the door, and it will not close. You can push it as hard as you want. You're not going to close it. So maybe something like that. Maybe the Cybertruck doors are going to be, they're going to open up fully automatically. I doubt that, but. We'll see.
They do that in the Model X, right?
Yeah. Listen, I love that Tesla pushes the limits. Even the thing that we talked about with the gear selector, great. Keep pushing the limits, but don't force something that isn't practical and doesn't use. Keep trying all this new stuff. Throw it out there. See what sticks. That's great. And you know what? If they develop a system where you don't need the door handles and it's just one less thing to break. I'm all fine with that. It'll reduce the cost. It'll one less thing that you could potentially have a problem with. So go for it, Elon.
I kind of like the idea of like just waving your hand very like close to the door handle where the door handle would be. Just kind of waving your hand on like you do on the Porsche Taycan when you want to open the front. You can, if you have the key in your pocket, you can just sort of like wave your hand just over the top of the car and it opens up. That'd be a sweet trick, I think.
How about some kind of retinal idea? Display? You walk up and you look at it, and it's like, okay, hi, Tom. Boop, the door opens.
Well, there used to be fingerprint scanners in old Chrysler Pacificas.
I remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, one more quick Tesla note. We reported yesterday, late yesterday, I believe, that the Frito-Lay, the potato chip company, is expecting to receive as many as 15 Tesla semis before the end of the year. So I'm not sure if that's part of like a regular serial production or what. We haven't had much in the way of news on a production line for them. And I'm right off the top of my head, I can't even remember where they're going to be building them. I'm almost thinking Gigafactory 1 in Nevada. Anybody? No? Who knows?
I just can't wait to drift one.
You're right. Yeah, we do have some footage of it on the track. Martin, your mic was off there.
Yeah, sorry about that. But we have seen Jerome Guillen move to head up Tesla's, who was in charge of vehicle production. He's moving to Tesla's new heavy trucking division. You don't move someone like him, who's very well thought of, been with them forever, has a direct line to Elon any time of the day, to head up your trucking department if you're not taking it really seriously. It's not going to be the sexiest. Obviously, people are obsessed with it, like the hardcore fans, but this is a sleeping giant for Tesla. This is going to be mega. I think they'll, once they get their new form factor cells up and running and enough supply of the cells, it's going to be mega for Tesla, because there's going to be a big market for medium and heavy duty trucks. And if they can steal a march, and there are others on the road right now, they're not the only ones doing it. If they can steal a march in terms of range and financing and price, they're going to have that to themselves for a long time.
Right. What's his new title? Head trucker?
I think so. It's on LinkedIn. I'll go check it out.
All right. Yeah. So just on the semi for a second, I'm kind of disappointed that I haven't seen any mention recently of the mega charger, network for those things as well, because that's an important detail.
I really hope they defer to the CCS kind of standards team that work and don't try and do anything proprietary. Please,
yeah, charring,
please.
right?
Yeah, it's a working group of hundreds of car makers, of tier 1, tier 2 suppliers and hardware manufacturers. Just let them sort 1-2 megawatt protocol standard, and then please have that. They did. So Tesla, I think there were 2 or 3, maybe 4 bids put in for commercial vehicle megawatt charging, and they haven't announced who's won, as it were. Okay. So Tesla threw their hat in the ring to say, hey, we think this should be the solution. Okay. If it's not chosen, I really hope they don't go away and do their own thing. Really hope they don't do their own thing, because they'll be fine. No doubt about that. But
this could be the step that's holding them back from installing that. Maybe they're just like waiting on what's the standard, guys? What's the they could be waiting on
the hardware can go in now, because the
right
cable the other end is easy.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, I'm not a charging expert. Tom?
Yeah, no, they could start the hardware, certainly. But the thing about what I think some people might not really understand and say, well, why, the proprietary network works so well for their cars, why would they then change? It's totally different when we're talking about trucks. When you're talking about large companies like Frito-Lay and Pepsi, say, for instance, their entire fleet won't be Tesla electric vehicles. They may buy some from other companies just to try them out. And if you're throwing that monkey wrench into that, well, Tesla, you've got, all the other companies are using this and Tesla's using this, that would hurt Tesla in the long run, with these companies wanting to buy their equipment. I think maybe early on it might be an advantage if Tesla goes out there and rolls out all these chargers like they did with CCS. But long term, the market is good. All of the truck stops are going to have these mega chargers installed, and they'll be CCS unless Tesla funds it and puts in the Tesla supercharger. So I think in the long term, it would be a much better play for Tesla if they go to the CCS for their trucking, and it'll be better for the industry. So this is totally different than their passenger vehicles, in my opinion. And hopefully, I'm in agreement with Kyle and Martin that that's the direction they take.
I hope so too, just for the record. one standard to unite them all. All right. So a little Porsche Taycan news. There's a new update available from them. It's not over the air, so owners will have to take it in may, in some cases, take up to 2 days. Hopefully, Porsche will loan them another Taycan to use while this is being taken care of. The update includes improvements to driving dynamics, new intelligent charging functions, additional functions for the Porsche Communication Management, or PCM system, and additional Porsche Connect features. It adds Porsche's new smart lift system to cars with adaptive air suspension, which lets you set the car to automatically adjust ride height while you're driving. There's also some optimized chassis control, as we said, and that is going to reduce some slip and improve acceleration. And there's some battery saving charging function going on, and entertainment improvements. And also, I don't know if anyone wants to chime in on any insight on that at all.
Yeah, so I spoke to Dr. Robert Meyer, who's the car line manager for Taycan, about this. We spoke for an hour about this update just last week, and it's a significant update to the vehicle. And one of the things that I asked him was, why is this not over the air to the Taycan? It has the capability to support it. And a lot of it is very sensitive power electronics calibration thing. For example, 0 to 200 kilometers per hour on Turbo S is now 0.2 seconds faster. And it's not that it makes more power, it can just sustain peak longer. But in order to do that, they had to rewrite communications efficiencies on the most sensitive components on the car. It's not like they're just making ambient lights dance to music, which they are doing, but it's not just that. The Turbo S, especially, It needs to go to the dealer. Hopefully you plug it in 20 minutes later, 30 minutes, whatever it is, you're good to go. But because there's 9,000 different configurations of Taycan, more than that, I'm just making up a number, but it is higher, and different software versions that have come out. I think what they want to do is get the cars in, get them all kind of on the same software, make sure that everything loads up and boots up properly. And then they can do more over-the-air stuff. They're also including functions on demand as a purchased option. For example, if your Taycan doesn't have Porsche InnoDrive when you purchase it, you can then add or do a monthly subscription to InnoDrive. This is a huge deal. Everyone's freaking out about Tesla doing monthly subscriptions for FSD, and here Porsche's doing it right now for their driver assistance system. So they're doing some really interesting things. Smart Lift is a great technology where, just like Model S, it will remember when you raise the suspension. And apparently it's a really deep rewrite. Now, the only thing that cannot bring a 2020 model year to a 2021 model year is plug and charge. That is the only difference. That is on the onboard charger itself is hard coded in, and you physically need to drop the battery pack to update that onboard charger, which is ridiculous, but there's no way to do it, and it's not worth the expense. So 2021 cars will do plug and charge, 2020 won't, but other than that, this brings them to parity.
Well, that's a great excuse for early Porsche Taycan owner to go up and get a new one.
Yeah, and it shouldn't take 2 days. It's just like if something's wrong.
Yeah, no.
I think they're just it's very Porsche. They're just building in the expectation.
Very conservative with that. Sure.
And so Kyle gave you the really good lengthy explanation, and I'm going to condense that really quickly because I talked to Porsche about that also. They basically said, we're going to be moving to over-the-air software updates like as often as possible. But if what we're doing affects safety systems in the car, then we want to bring it in to make 100% sure the update was received properly and the vehicle is performing as it should. So that's really the difference between having just these over-the-air software updates and them asking you to bring it in. If it's going to manipulate safety systems in the car, they want to touch and feel the car and drive it. And they think that that's part of the premium experience of owning a Porsche. That they're not just leaving. Well, we hope that software update went well. Good luck with your new regenerative braking that we just recalibrated in your car. If you drive down your driveway and crash into a tree, bring it in. If the update didn't go well. Not that we're hearing that there's any problems like that with Tesla over-the-air updates, but this is Porsche's opinion on this, that if it affects safety systems, we want the car in the shop.
Right.
And they're being uber conservative. So it'll probably be like this for the next 1, 2, 3 years. Once they become more comfortable, software updates become more, they'll go for it. Porsche's never pushed anything with technology, with connected services before. And so this is, if you own a Taycan, you get it because you're a Porsche guy. You're like, look, all right, well, I don't expect the same new fart sounds out of my car every 2 weeks, but they are doing some fun things. This whole dancing ambient light thing, I'm very surprised Porsche's doing that because that's very un-Porsche.
It's good. They need to have a little lighten up a little bit,
Actually, I don't know. It kind of bothers me. Ruins the brand to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a serious brand. I don't know. I think it's kind of silly.
Hey, so Coach D, I was just to backtrack just a little bit. Ask, wasn't there a group put together to make trucks charging standard? And you mentioned it, and I'll just throw the link up to our tag in the chat. But it's what, Charon?
Yeah, the Charon group, but that's not specific for truck charging standards.
Right. This is all high level. Yeah. I think greater than 1 megawatt.
Okay. So, but super high charging standard. Okay. So what else? We got a few things we want to hit really quick on the way out. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Hey, if you haven't seen it on our site, I think from a couple of days ago, there's an interview with Sandy Munro talking batteries and technology with Carsten Breitfeld. He was with Byton, and originally, I think Tom, you know him from his days with BMW. We were talking about him last week. That's right. And he's now with Faraday Future. So Faraday Future has been kind of written off, but I think by a lot of people. But Carsten's a pretty serious guy, and so maybe it's time to check this out and see if we should be taking Faraday Future a bit more seriously going forward. That's something to look forward.
That was a really good interview, by the way. You could tell Carsten knows cars. He knows engineering. He's kind of like Peter Rawlinson, like the CEO. Often these executives, the CEOs, they're great businessmen, but they don't know cars. This guy can build a car in his garage by himself. He really he understands battery technology. He understands cooling. This was just a great video. I definitely recommend. Long too. It's almost an hour.
Right.
And hearing Sandy and Carsten go back and forth, it was like just two old car guys just talking about future technology and how they're both like excited to be part of this new world, of the new automotive world. So I thought it was a great interview. That's why I put it up on Inside EVs.
Right on. So Volkswagen Group is partnering with BP, British Petroleum, on ultra-fast charging deployment in mostly Europe. I think that is right, Martin?
Yeah, it was part of the battery day, power day thing where they're like, we're 15,000 new chargers, but
Right.
It didn't say what that really meant. But I think it means partnerships. No, they're not going out there and doing a Tesla. Makes sense to do partnerships, and BP don't want to be left behind, and neither do VW.
It seemed like a pretty significant investment. It's a good post to check out if you're interested in that. So the Audi Q4 e-tron is entering production alongside the Volkswagen ID.4. So hopefully we'll be able to get to try that out pretty soon and see what the differences are between the two.
And alongside the ID.3 as well. So
Right.
those three cars are all made at the same plants at the moment. That's the VW Group's philosophy, is rather than having production lines as they roll down and what's going in this one, I'll stick an engine in, and it's not quite like that. But yeah, so different brands being made at that plant for VW. There'll be 6 eventually. I don't know what the other 3 are.
Right. 240 kilowatt in there's one in Scandinavia, right? The Northvolt. So other news, the Ford Escape plug-in PHEV, plug-in hybrid EV production is finally going to start later this year. So that's right. It's I forget what the range is. It's a little lesser than the. When I think of this, I think of the Toyota RAV4 Prime. It's kind of its competition, but this is a little bit less all electric range, but it's also a more affordable price tag. So definitely something to consider if you're.
Can I bring
hesitant.
up a point?
Sure.
This was already on sale. Then they caught on fire.
Yeah.
So,
Safety first. You want me safety first?
So now
it's
starting later this year again is what
Yes.
the title should be.
It's been an unfortunate, because it was go, then it was stop, then it was go, and it's the whole semiconductor chip shortage that's hitting all the car makers. They're like, oh, we haven't got any to make it now, so now we've got to press stop again. So I do, they've been through, this team have been through a rough time with this car.
Yeah, but I've driven the hybrid version. I had one on loan, the non-plug-in, and it was fantastic. Great car. So I'm really looking forward to this plug-in version because, I think it could be a great car for tons of people. I just hope it can compete with RAV4 Prime.
Right.
That's where it's going to compete, Kyle. The
Right.
price is a lot lower, and I think people in this segment are very price sensitive. So I think that's going to give it an advantage. Can Ford properly explain that though? When you get into the dealerships, will the dealerships be able to communicate the value of this? And that's a tough call. And
Well,
really,
Tom, as you know, they'll only sell the value if they have 10 of them and then one combustion one. But if they have 10 combustion ones and one of these, they're not going to push this. They're going to try and get the 10 that they need to get off the lot.
Absolutely. And the path of least resistance is unfortunately what a lot of dealerships take. The easiest vehicles to sell, the ones that they'll push, because it's all about getting the people in and out, getting that sale, getting that commission, move on to the next. And that's a big challenge with electrification because they're harder to sell. Electric car takes 3 times as long to close a deal as a combustion engine car. That's just a fact.
Wow.
And that's what we're up against. That's part of the reasons why dealerships have been a pain point. But really quickly, I know we're up against it. I know the viewers won't care. They always ask us to go longer every week. The semiconductor chip shortage is a huge problem. And,
It is.
and it is a huge problem. As you know, I go to these dealerships. The dealers that in the last month have been telling me that their allotments that are coming in over the next, because they get a month or 2 out worth of allotments, they're like being slashed by 50%. And this is across their models. This isn't just their electric vehicles. The dealers in New Jersey aren't getting Ford F-150 pickups because they can't get the chips. This is an enormous global problem for vehicles that I think we're only starting to hear about now. It's going to be in the news a lot in the next couple of weeks as these dealerships just complain that, look, we can't, people will be going to buy a vehicle and you'll be searching the whole state and there just won't be any inventory. So if you need a vehicle now in the US, don't wait 3 or 4 weeks. Go out now and get your order in, and or you might be out of luck in a month or so, because this is serious.
And if you want to buy a used EV, you might want to get on that right away, because those prices are going to be going up because you won't be able to get a new one, right? Yep. It's going to be it'll be more difficult. Used prices across the board are going to be. Is it going to be a good time to sell your used vehicle? So a couple of things really quick. The 2021 Porsche Cayenne plug-in hybrid, it gets 14 to 16 miles of EPA electric range, and that's an improvement, which is, hey, the Porsche Macan is coming out soon on the it's all electric on the PPE platform that the Taycan sits on. So that's going to be, I don't know. I think 14 to 16 miles isn't enough range for me for a plug-in hybrid. I know I had one person on Twitter said, they have one and they do actually plug it in and, do take advantage of those electric miles. But yeah,
that's about the same battery size as the Wrangler. And that's even less. So that's terrible range.
Yeah. Well, think they're heavy. These things.
Yeah.
Are
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And they're also Porsche uses the plug-in hybrid system not just to enable electric driving, but also so much more in terms of drivability, wide open throttle, boosted performance, gear shift supplementation, so you don't feel the combustion engine shift. It hits you with electric motor torque. We're getting towards the end of the show. I won't go on and on.
Okay. And one last thing, the Lincoln Corsair plug-in hybrid gets 28 miles of EPA electric range, which is not so bad. It's getting up to an acceptable level there, and that's more of a luxurious kind of vehicle. So something to keep an eye out for. And so that brings us to the end of our show.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Oh, it doesn't.
We have more. We have one more thing.
We have one more thing. So right now over in China, Xpeng Motors is having a 3,600 kilometer, which comes out to 2,300 miles, media drive. I mean, that's like from New York to Las Vegas. Now, all of the journalists aren't participating in the entire drive. You can do 1 day, 2 days, whatever you want. But this thing is meant to show off the features of Xpeng's autonomous driving system, XPilot 3.0. Nearly the entire trip is being done autonomously, with very little input from the passengers. As a matter of fact, the Xpeng is monitoring it and every day releasing the data that, okay, the group drove, there were 25 cars or whatever that drove 400 miles each today, and there was less than one input for every 100 miles, let's say. And that means, in the entire driving event of the days, people are interacting with the vehicle less than 2 or 3 times, for 300 or 400 miles. And so now this is going to be completed in a couple of days. We, of course, Kyle and I were invited to do this, but we couldn't go to China right now. I would love to participate in it. That would have been awesome. But what we did set up was we have an independent journalist in China, Mark Andrews, is doing this drive. Awesome. And next week, Wednesday, March 31st, at 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to do a live webcast. You can watch this on it's going to be just like our podcast here. You could sign up for it on Facebook, and I'm going to have Mark on with myself, and we might have a representative from Xpeng, like an engineer, just to ask some questions. But I'm not 100% sure of that yet, because this is going to be 3 a.m. in the morning in China. So right. We might not be able to swing that, but it'll be Mark and I, and Mark will have video of him driving the vehicle. We got all cameras set up in the cars. These are P7s, and we're going to be able to ask questions to Mark about what he thought about it, how well did it work, where did it have problems, if a car cut you off, how did the car react? and then we'll also be able to field live questions. So if you're
Cool.
participating in this, just like this podcast here, you'll be able to ask questions, and we'll get to as many of those questions as we can.
Is that going to be on the Inside EVs YouTube channel as well?
I believe it's going to be on our YouTube channel also. Yes.
All right. All right.
Yep, that'll be right here.
Yeah.
So our subscribers to this podcast, you watching right now, you'll see that crop up in your subscriptions feed, and which is 3 p.m. UK, 4 p.m. 8 p.m. UK next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central European, and then 3 p.m. Eastern.
So Facebook and Twitch and YouTube.
Yeah, all the usual. So if you're watching this right now, I'm fascinated to see how this has gone and how it goes. And it seemed like a genuinely open conversation about autonomy, because there's a lot of smoke and mirrors around autonomy and how people feel safe with it and what the car's really doing and those edge cases, like Tom says. So I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit more.
Right on.
Absolutely. It should be really a good event. And feel free to ask Mark any questions that you want about his experience driving the vehicle.
Right on. Yes. Okay. So that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you all for joining us. And come back to see us next week. Next week is our 1-year anniversary, I believe, show, or 52nd show. And
Is it really?
Party time.
We may be having some champagne or some bourbon for breakfast. We don't know, but you're welcome to break out the bottles and join us if you like. So if you have any comments about anything, any of the topics on today's show, you can comment on the Inside EVs podcast post, the YouTube comment section, or on the Inside EVs forum podcast thread. Don't forget, you can find and follow our panelists on Twitter. Tom Mologney is at Tomolog. Martin Lee is at EV News Daily. Kyle Connor is at Out of Spec, and I'm at Dominic_Y. Click subscribe and tap that bell icon for notifications. So we're on time next week, and we'll see you all then. Ciao.